We started with the first part in August, then in January the second part, and now in March the third part. The importance of stocking rate in determining ranch profits. Before we start a new business or any management change, we need to start with the end in mind to see if it's worth it or not. So I always like to use Excel spreadsheets to find out what's the best management strategy in numbers, and then see if in nature it goes with nature or not. And then I do it, and after years of experience, I know if that was what I inferred with the spreadsheet is true or not. So if we see a size of ranch in acres of 740 and the price per acre at $4,000 an acre, we're going to get to return on investment. So the ranch value is 740 times $4,000 an acre is $2,960,000. If we have a stocking rate of 3 acres per medium-sized cow, medium-large-sized cow, this was made for Iowa. On conventional, we're going to have a stocking rate of normal, which will be 5 cows per acre, the normal continuous grazing. And the cow will be larger at 1,400 pounds, that's the usual. And the number of paddocks, 7. So we can have 148 cows on 740 acres. The calving percentage, in this example, I put 75%. Body condition from 1 to 5 will be 2.6 because the larger cow maintains a lower body condition than a shorter cow. And the weaning weight will be 525 pounds. The price per pound, $1.70. And the price of a weaned calf, you can change this with your real numbers, $892. Total weaned animals, 111. So I will get $99,000 per year of income. And the direct cost per cow, $300. So the total direct cost, $44,400. Supplement per cow, only $65. So if you multiply $65 per cow by the cows, $9,620. So we see that the high cost is not the supplement. There are more variable costs that are higher. The total direct cost, $54,000. The gross profit, $45,000. Per cow, $300. So it's higher than this, per cow. But the gross profit per acre is $60, 61. So we get a return on investment of 1.42%. Now let's see another scenario. Double the stocking rate. Instead of 5 acres per cow, we need 2.5 acres per cow. Same size of cow, we didn't change that. And we increase the number of paddocks from 7 to 16. So we have more cows, but we get a lower calving percentage because they cannot maintain their body condition because now we have more. And we didn't change management, the grazing much. So we get a 67% calving percentage. Body condition will be lower, 20% lower. And the weaning weight will be lower also. The price per pound, the same. Now we have to supplement more. Instead of $65 per cow, $100. So that price went up, the cost of supplementation. So the profit per acre went up, even with less calving percentage and thinner cows. The gross profit went up. And the return on investment went up a little, not much. Let's say it stayed the same. The cow cost the same, $1,500 each. Okay, option 3 will be double stocking rate, but a smaller cow. Instead of 1,400 pounds, 950. Now we're changing the size of the cow, and that will be reflected in a better body condition and a higher calving percentage, because a shorter cow maintains body condition better under the same conditions. And instead of 16 paddocks, we're going to have 1,000 plus by portable temporary fencing, by moving them. So now instead of 296, we have 384 cows. Same stocking rate, but because they're smaller, we can feed in more. Not a direct correlation, because Smaller cow, it's more in relation to her size than a bigger cow. But it's less total than the big cow. I explain that when I give the courses. So this is 85%, and we get a smaller winning weight because now they are smaller cows. We get a little higher price per pound because they are smaller calves. They pay better. So we get $720 dollars per wean calf, and the supplement cost went to $80. It's a little less than this, but higher than here, because it's the same total pounds of beef, of cow. So the gross profit per cow went up. It's the highest of all of them, but the gross profit per acre is more than double here. And the return on investment, after accounting for the cost of the land, the cost of the cows, the total investment, and the gross margin is divided, the gross margin divided by the total investment multiplied by 100, and it's 3.52. Now the last scenario, this one. Triple the stocking rate. If instead of double, we're going to triple it. We have smaller cows, the same size, and again, the correct grass management. So we have, instead of 148 cows, now we have 576, which is many more than 3 times more. We maintain the good body condition because now we are supplementing more. Instead of $65, we are supplementing $110 of supplement to maintain their good body condition, because now we have a lot of cows. A lot of cows are returning a lot of nutrients, nutrient cycling, when you can carry them on a sustainable way.
What kind of supplements are we using?
I am talking about protein only. We never advocate feeding energy supplements to cows on grass, because then you're going to substitute for the grass. We only want to enhance the rumen function, so when the grass is lacking in protein, we have enough protein in the diet so the rumen can function normally and digest that fiber. That's all.
Is it a feed or lick? Or?
No, I don't like licks because they cannot consume enough. What I like the best is alfalfa hay, high quality alfalfa hay. And second best, I use flaxseed meal. Depends on what you have available. Okay, so the weaning weight now is lower than this because we have higher stocking rate and we get the same price per pound. So now the gross profit per cow went down from 322 to 291, but per acre went up. And the return investment, even after accounting for the extra cows, we're getting higher return investment, almost 1% higher. So that's a 30%, 28% higher. So some people will be comfortable with this, stay here, or some people want to go all the way. But any of these two scenarios is much better than any of the other two options. Now, this is not something that I made up. These were the charter state trials done by Alan Savory back in 1960-some in South Africa. All these numbers were real, but these two columns only, the first two columns. They didn't do this because they didn't have portable temporary fences. They used barbed wire back then. Now we have it. Now we can go ahead and improve on what was already done. So even 16 paddocks was not enough for a brittle environment with seasonal rainfall. But even with that, he got better. His return investment didn't go down and the pasture didn't deteriorate. So that was a major breakthrough that he made. Now those scenarios, I've actually done it on my own ranches. And we are doing it here in Florida. We right now have 4 times the average stocking rate. On 500 acres, we have 600 animals. And we are feeding 1/3 to 5 times less hay than the neighbors are, even at 4 times higher stocking rate. So it's working. Okay, this is non-selective grazing in Ohio. As you can see, a lot of pugging. It's wet spring or late winter. See, the grass is all frosted. It's a combination of orchard, alfalfa, brome, diverse. But this was agriculture 2 years ago. He just started last year, the non-selective grazing. And now you see the body condition of the cows. And a high stocking rate, non-selective grazing, non-supplemented, because that forage is high quality enough that you don't need protein. But they are adapted genetics, short cows, heavy. They are actually federal genetics. The owner is Peter Kiko in Ohio. So he's making them eat everything by giving them 4 or 3 short, small breaks per day. And because it's high quality forage, they maintain very good body condition, and they are calving in late spring. He has 68 animals on 70 acres. And he just started last year, and before that it was corn and soybean. See the bugging that I was talking about? And this will only improve with time, because at the higher stocking rate you have more recycling of nutrients. Now, we don't do this every year on every part of the farm. We do it on half of the farm. And then the other half we allow to grow for winter. That's what they're grazing right now. Yes?
Is bugging a big issue?
No. Unless you come back too soon, then it is. When you take everything down, that allows you a much longer recovery period, because you get more cow days per acre. So you come back 3 or 4 times slower than if you did selective grazing, where they select the best and move on.
So how do you go slow enough to make your grass, not in the winter, but during the growing season, slow enough to give what you just grazed recovery time, but fast enough that the rest doesn't go to seed?
You concentrate on half the farm. If you try to cover the whole farm so it doesn't go to seed, you will fail, because you don't have enough animals to eat the 5 times more forage that is being produced per day that they can consume. So it will get away from you. So we only concentrate in what we can keep up with, and the rest we allow it to grow as stockpile for winter. And that's what allows the roots to go deep and allows the best species to come back and establish, because it's 6 months of rest in the growing period. That's the key to this whole system. Yeah. Once you get the hang of it, the first year it is, second year easier, the third year, or you can start with a small section and play with it and see before you jump in, because if you jump in and don't do it right, it's costly. So it's better to start slow or on a small part of the farm and see the results. And this is what we get with correct non-selective grazing. We get more plants per square yard, which is what builds a solar panel. Not bare ground. This has just been grazed. This is non-selective grazing on Bahia grass at 4 times higher stocking rate, 4 breaks per day. Look at the stocking rate. And look how it is after grazing, and the manure distribution, and no bare ground. I did the whole circle there. So that was raised the same way before it grew, as you see it there. By the way, the trial done by Kreider in 1955 was only one clipping of one grass, Rhodes grass. And that's where he got his conclusion that if you cut it down, if you repeatedly cut it down, you will slow root growth. That's true. And if you only cut it once with scissors at 50% of the total mass, then it doesn't stop growing. That is true. But then instead of stopping the root growth, it only lowered to 28 and 35. So it wasn't as bad. But people, if you look on the Google, they all take that 1955 trial, one trial, and they make it like if everything is the same. and it's not. And it was clipping with scissors. There was no hoof or manure or urine or saliva, anything. It wasn't a real situation. It was like a lab trial. And that when you don't take the holistic point of view and you only concentrate on a little part like they did back then you make wrong assumptions. So they are in good body condition with big calves on their side. This was in November last year. So the calves were born in June and July. Now I'm going to talk about compost extract. We have been using compost extract with the food sources for the microorganisms in the soil since day one. We started in 2012 and it was very poor soil, and that's our only fertilizer program. So we're bringing back life to the soil because we know that life will enhance soil fertility, which namely is humus content. If the air we breathe is 78% nitrogen, why would we need to buy nitrogen in a bag? We only need to make the life in the soil so the fungi, the mycorrhiza can infect the roots, and then they can in turn feed the plants, and the plants will in turn capture carbon dioxide, turn it into sugars, and as root exudates, feed those microbes and microorganisms. So what is compost extract? We make good compost, then we extract the soil life and the nutrients with a vortex machine. We only add like 1.5 pounds of compost per acre in water, and it extracts it, and then we add the liquid fish and molasses, and we spray it. That's it. How long does it take to make it? Well, it takes an hour to make it, and because we don't brew it, we just spray it as it is. So it's only an hour, and it's much more reliable than compost tea. Compost tea can go bad very easy. Do I have to make it every day? Well, you can actually make it every other day because we have an automatic control that turns the pump 15 minutes every hour. So it keeps it aerated. They are aerobics. The cost per acre from $7 to $10 each time we apply it. And what can I expect if it's done right? Well, what we have gotten is, along with the correct grass management and the correct calving season and the correct adapted genetics, we have achieved 4 times what it was, the stocking rate. And why use the cyclone to aerate the water? Because these are aerobics, and the cyclone, what it does, it puts air into the water to charge it with air, oxygen. By inoculating and nurturing our soils with compost extract, they can release and make available nutrients that wouldn't be available otherwise. How do we know this? Because we have 30 acres that we never touched. We never put cows in, and we never applied compost extract. And it's still dead, like it was when we started in 2012. Air is approximately 78% nitrogen. All we need is microorganisms that fix it into available forms for plants and humus to liberate it slowly for best nutrition content of plants and animals. By not using soluble fertilizers, we achieve various things. First, the nutrient content of our forage is higher, and it will have a higher bricks content, and it will be in a more complex way that is better for higher digestion that we people do, not for insect digestion. They require simple molecules. And the costs go down, and we don't get any nitrogen runoff or phosphate runoff. That's important for pollution. So we don't want the nutrients to be soluble, we want them to be insoluble but available in humus form. Now you can make compost in diverse ways. Now we have this microscope here that we can check our compost. Elaine Ingham made research that our soils are wholly lacking in fungi. We have a lot of microbes that release nutrients fast, but no fungi, so to speak, that make the dead bodies of the microbes into real humus. And humus is the part of the organic matter that stays stable in the soil for hundreds of years. So we need humus, not organic matter. And fungi is the only one that turns the organic matter into humus. So when we don't have fungi, we only have microbes, we are not creating humus at the rate that we could. So that's very, very important. Our soil should be darker every year, not lighter. We started with white sand and now it's dark brown. I want it to be black because carbon is black. So it will get darker every year. So this is one type of compost made. We can see only bacteria and no fungi. So if we do this, if we make compost and we use the compost extract with this type of compost, we will not get the humus that is our ultimate goal. It will increase growth, but not humus. And this is a fungi, this one. And that's what we want to see in our compost. Not only a lot of bacteria, but we want to actually see the fungi. What are fungi foods? This is how we started. It was bacteria dominated, and we want fungi dominated. I am learning as I read and take courses. At first, I didn't know about the fungi, the importance it is. We have a great deal of knowledge in the Living Web Farms database and videos. And there is one that is very good, is Fungi Can Save the World. That's a very good video that we can see on YouTube. And if we start with this, how do we improve it the faster? Well, we try to make this type of compost, and then we spray with that. What will create a fungi-dominated compost? Well, first we need to know what fits fungi and what fits microbes. Microbes are fed by sugars, mostly. Remember the root exudates? That's how they are fed. And fungi also, but fungi needs more stable food, more like liquid fish, kelp, fats. The higher the fat content of the cover crop that we are grazing and trampling down, the more fungi we will get. So we need it, and fiber, carbon. When we allow the grass to grow taller and more mature, it will in turn bring fungi into the residue. When we graze it short and leafy all the time, that will not promote fungi. This is when we started. It was like this. And the first year with the compost extract, we got our winter annual crop. No commercial fertilizer has been used, only grazing plus compost extract, and this is this winter. So now we are getting good results. It took time and work. We have to start by making a good compost. See how it's very hot, so it's vapor early in the morning, turning it with the front-end loader. That's how we make the compost. We don't use expensive machines. We do it just with what we have. And it's more, to me, it's more like an art than a science. So I smell it and I see it and I grab it to see if it's well aerated or not, if it smells fungi dominated or microbe dominated. Smell tells you a lot of things. Fungi dominated, and on the woods, when you take the litter from the ground and you smell it, that's fungi dominated. That's how you want it to smell. We need to get the correct seed to carbon to nitrogen ratio, and it's important to maintain the correct moisture because all these microorganisms, they swim, they don't crawl. So we just saw, what was it, nematode swimming very fast. We need to avoid anaerobic fermentation by turning it frequently and using enough fluffy material to keep it aerated. We like to keep cost low, so we use equipment that is already at the farm. And I recommend the use of grass-fed cow manure whenever possible, because it will have a much better ratio of diverse microorganisms than, let's say, dairy cow manure will not be as good. Here we are crushing biochar with this to make it very small to add it to the compost pile. That's the first time I've done it. I want to try it and see how it works. Here we can see the correct carbon to nitrogen ratio, but because it's 100 tons or things like that, you need to play by ear. You cannot weight it, and you have to learn how to observe and get it more or less like this. So it's not only manure and it's not only hay. I use peanut straw.
Is that what you're using to make your compost out of?
Yeah, I am using cow manure.
You use no wood products?
No, because then if they don't degrade enough, they're going to plug up the compost extractor machine, the pieces of wood. So I don't use any wood because of that only. If it was going to be spread, I would use wood chips, yes.
Where are you
Or
getting your manure?
sawdust. We had 35 cows that were calving in December. So I put them into corral and fed them bahia hay. And as they wasted it, they urinated on it and all that. And at the end of a month, we had all this. Here I am adding water with a water cannon for irrigation. I just put it here, and I added too much, so then I had to spread it this way. And I added the liquid fish with a pump and a hose. It's smelly stuff. You have to use rubber boots and then leave them outside the house. And you go in. But it creates a fungi.
Old clothes that you don't mind throwing away.
No, you can wash it. I think I was using something like this.
Stains don't come
Here.
out.
See, that's the correct ratio, and now we're adding the liquid fish. We only added it 2 weeks ago, and we already saw the fungi that I showed you. That's from that. This was done 2 weeks ago. Steps to make the good compost extract once you have the compost ready. You aerate the water for 20 minutes with that cyclone. You dissolve high quality compost for 20 minutes with the pump running. Then you add the microorganism food source and run for another 20 minutes so it gets blended well. You apply it as soon as feasible, usually early in the morning before 10 a.m. for best results as dew is present. Remember, they swim, they don't crawl. Okay, let's take a small break.